until the end of the night.
Okay.
It's racing, you know. And that's some of the stuff I miss about Silver Springs. Man, after Silver Springs would end at the night, people would have beers and people were jolly. And sometimes you'd end up there till morning till the flea market people would come.
Oh, I remember some of those nights with, well, it was just late because they got 550
Yeah.
cars and Silver Springs be done
Yeah.
at 1 o'clock and the flea market people are already lining up and then
Yeah.
the teams in the pit area get the grill out
Yep.
and whatever. But uh, what compare winning a race as an owner and now sponsoring it? Because I know when Anthony started winning at
Yeah.
a high rate, I know it was a big deal for you guys because
Oh, it
you did
was.
know them. Compare the two.
Um, when you own it, it is a whole different ball game when you own that vehicle and you know the whole crew, the driver, it changes everything. As a sponsor, it's probably more relaxed. Probably it's intense for me to think about Anthony when he's out there. I mean, the kid has scared me half to death a couple times, and I'm like, oh my God. But you're used to it. I mean, I'm used to it. Um, but I love to have him win because I care about that kid. And that is why, literally, Doug Hammaker is in that 22 of mine. I've known him since he was a baby. Family.
So obviously, you guys are sponsoring stuff. You're involved on different cars. Some more than others. Always you see JNS everywhere. The Warrior Award at Port Royal. Um, Recently, obviously, your life changed.
Yep.
Jim passed away. I was when I heard it, I was shocked because I wasn't aware of everything going on.
Most people didn't. Jim and I are pretty low key about, we wanted to keep it private. Um, he did not want a viewing. He did not want a funeral. I think he did that for me because we had a little discussion about it. I couldn't have handled all the people, and they would have come, and I wouldn't have been able to deal with it. So we low keyed that whole thing. That's the way he wanted it. I didn't say it was right, but he did that so I wouldn't have to deal with all the stuff. And then I had a celebration of life for Jim about a month later for the people who I knew. He had wrote some people down, and I thought, and my son, I had to do that for Dean too. It was very tough on Dean also. Um, Jim had Lyme disease for about
Oh,
8 years.
and I never, I mean,
Most people didn't.
you guys, and look, if I don't find out, that's doing something because I could write a book with some of the stuff
No,
I
he
find
had
out.
Lyme. It was untreated for the first 2 years. We didn't even know he had it. And then it treated, but along with Lyme, there are 17 different virals that you can get with it. Jim had two of the worst. Dean has Lyme. He had two viruses too. But Dean did better than Jim. What happens is you get brain fog, it's called. Well, Jim had brain fog off and on all those 8 years, but one day it was just different. And I said, you need to get to your Lyme doctor. So we went down to Shippensburg. I didn't see him getting any better. So then we went to Arizona to a Lyme disease clinic out there. That didn't do much good either. Then, hey, you're trying to do what you can. Then he went to North Carolina to another one. That wasn't any good either. And I was at my brain doctor, and I said, hey, do you know any Lyme disease specialists? Upstate New York. 2 days later, we were upstate New York. He came home. It was a Friday. I called him on the phone. Something to me. I said, get dressed. I'm taking you to Hershey Med. Well, he got all wound up and upset. I said, just be ready. I'll be there in 15. Took him in around 10 o'clock, and at 4:45, they said, Stage 4 glioblastoma. They gave him 14 months to live. He lived 3. And for his sake, um, I'm glad he didn't last 14. He never. He wasn't afraid to die. I had to ask him.
But you'd see the deterioration.
You know what his biggest problem was? He couldn't do anything. That's what did him in. He could not. Jim, when I asked Fred how Jim worked, anybody that knows Jim, that's the first thing. Hey, at this celebration of life, that's all I heard. They never, had met somebody that worked. Christmas Day, where is he in the morning? At the shop.
Okay. They say happy wife, happy life. How did you?
Sometimes I wasn't happy. That's all he wanted. He was a workaholic. Literally, he was a workaholic. He even told me a couple of times, I think I should talk to somebody. Go for it, man. But he wouldn't do it. It's hard when you work that hard. He was never going to give it up. And I was used to being literally alone. But I was okay with it. I'm a big girl, and I'm very independent. So, it worked out, and it was what it was. But one of his good friends had the same cancer 3 months ahead of Jim. And Jim died in February, and his friend died that Easter.
And it was February of 2024. Mm-hmm. You mentioned going to the races after. I don't know if I could have done that. I mean, how difficult was it for a while? I remember seeing you, and I know I said something to you, but
I'm the girl who I try not to show my feelings.
Yeah.
I've learned how to be tough. So sometimes people might think I'm not heartless. I just don't show it. I try to keep that, but it was, the first race was horrible for me personally. I'll tell you another race that was really hard on Dean and me. Last year, I had that $22,000 Jim Klein Memorial race.
Yes.
Oh, brother. I think I got in my truck. I went by myself. I told Dean, Dean brought the car home. And was not a good ride. The whole way home was not a good ride. But you have to start moving, because if you don't, then you're going to wallow in what? Everyone's going to die sooner or later. It's ugly, but you have to deal with it. So other than trying to, what I'll call piss and moan, I needed to get myself together and put on that face that says, hey, I'm okay. I really wasn't sometimes, but you just do that because people don't want to hear it,
So the last year you've been, doing the same things. You kept all the sponsorship, all the sponsorships going, and I think that maybe surprised people. Didn't surprise me. But what did surprise me is you got back to owning a car again. Okay, you didn't know that this was...
I'll tell you how this went down.
Yeah, because it's not a good business decision.
No, I know. But you have to understand something. I've wanted this since I was 14 years old. Here's a story. Jim said to me one day, you'd really love to own a car of your own, wouldn't you? I said, yeah. I said, I'd like to beat your butt. I'm very competitive, and so was he. But he understood that because, when the Outlaws come here, Philip and Carson come to the shop, and they are at our shop.
Oh, Philip Dietz and Carson Macedo, yes.
Okay. Because Philip was on the car when Jason drove for us, so we all remained friends. So I said to him one day, this was a mistake I made. I said, what's it cost to get on that car? So he tells me, and I'm thinking, wow, I want my own car. That's the first thing I thought of when he said, I want my own car then. So I had talked to Doug at the National Open in the infield. And he asked me, he said if I could maybe help him. Well, of course I was going to help him, you know. Well, 3 days later, I called him and I said, Doug, you be my driver. I said, I'll be your owner. And he goes, really? I said, yeah. You in? He said, yep. That was at 3, maybe 3:30. By 5 o'clock, I had 2 motors ordered and 3 cars ordered. And I was on my way.
Welcome to another edition of SprintCarUnlimited.com live. I appreciate everyone joining us and those who will jump in throughout the next hour, hour and a half, or however long it lasts. If you'd like to call in to ask a question, it's 1-844-543-8589. If you don't want to call and want to kind of remain anonymous, you can also enter the chat to ask a question. Before we get to the phone lines in the chat, some of the storylines from last week, or probably I should say the last couple of days, because at the top of the list really didn't have anything to do with on the track news as much as off when after Saturday's race at Lincoln Speedway, Cale Thomas was fired from Shark Racing. He ran 3 races and had 2 crashes. But to be fair, Thomas did look decent in time trials. He was 6th, 12th, and 4th in those 3 races. He was battling for a top 5 spot at the Grove on Friday night when he clipped the water barrels and kind of pirouetted down the backstretch, turned upside down, and then caught on fire, or a fireball. I don't know how long it was on fire. And then the next night at Lincoln, he was running, I think, 6th or 7th. Looked racy, and he got upside down in turn 4. We weren't able to catch that on the cameras. But as for Shark Racing now, I've heard of names thrown around for it. I think I know who's getting it, but no formal announcement has been made. As for Cale Thomas, he indicated to me on Sunday that if nothing develops, he's going to run his number 91 car and see what happens. So short hook, definitely a short hook. On the track, Anthony Macri is back. I know he started the first 11 races of the season. It wasn't good. People were wondering why he was struggling. Well, last weekend, he won 3 races in 24 hours at 2 different tracks and banked a little over $14,000. And now in his last 8 races, he has 5 wins and he's tied with David Gravel for the most in the nation. This isn't a surprise to me at all. I wasn't worried about where Macri was going to settle in this year. Good team struggle. Again, I said it in my 90 at 9 today. Brad Sweet went 35 races without winning last year, and nobody thought that would happen. So it's just the ebb and flow of a season, and he's going to reach double digits, and I think he could lead the nation in wins again. It's highly possible. So I want to touch on some rhetoric about Knoxville, and all week. I wasn't going to address this because it makes me look like I like High Limit more than the Outlaws, which isn't the case. I think the Outlaws have a slightly better roster, but all week I heard how High Limit's the B squad. They're only as good as the old All-Stars, and that's ridiculous, and it showed last week. Rico Abreu gets the win. Kyle Larson was 2nd, and Tyler Courtney, who people seem to forget all the time, he was 4th, and Aaron Reitzel was 5th. The lone World of Outlaws guy in the top 5 was Logan Schuchart, who was 3rd. So, look, I'm not saying High Limit's better. I'm saying maybe the gap is not as wide as what people think. So, just thought I'd throw that out there. But if you want to talk about that, we can. We had some pretty bad wrecks last week, and there were a lot of questions. Obviously, the first one, Brad Sweet took some heat for the deal with Tasker Phillips at Knoxville. You had the Logan Wagner Justin Whittall situation at Port Royal going into turn one. And then you saw DJ Neto clean out Justin Sanders at Merced during the SCCT event. So if you want to talk about any of those or any other topics, we're ready to go. Let's go to the chat or the phones, whichever comes first, or both. So what do we got? What are you hearing about Scott Boguski not getting his first place pay from Power I from the Jesse Hockett Memorial from last year when the winner got DQ'd for tire doping? I know it was roughly 10 or so days afterward that Jake Buback got DQ'd for tires, and Scott Boguski apparently has not received his money yet. Funny you ask, I will be calling about this tonight. It's been a busy week, as you guys could probably all understand. And I'll have more on that later, probably on the website or 90 at 9. I know some things about it, but I want to know all the information before I comment on it. Look, bottom line is if guys don't get paid, that's the worst thing in racing. It doesn't matter what the particulars are. Guys not getting paid is the worst thing that can happen. So I'm going to be making some calls about that tonight as soon as the show's over. What else do we got? Do we have anything else? Hopefully we don't have a technical issue. Oh, here we go. Dr. Midnight on line one. I knew this was coming. Dr. Midnight, how are you?
I'm doing great, Jeremy. Long time a listener, first time caller.
Yeah. So what do you got for me?
I haven't. Well, I think I've heard David Gravel say on a few occasions that it's easier to win an outlaw race if you just pop in and pop out than if you're there the whole time because it's a grind.
Okay. I've said that too.
And I think I've heard you.
I've said that too.
You agree with this?
I do agree with this.
Okay. I feel this is basically a direct slap at Kyle Larson. You feel that's where this is? That's what he's talking about?
I don't know
why. It's easier for Larson.
Well, I don't know.
It's easier for Larson to win because he's just bouncing in and out. But I looked into the statistics on this because I was wondering myself. Now, in 2020, Kyle ran pretty much a full dirt schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he ran over 80 races. Is that considered full-time?
It's full-time. Well, not full-time outlaws, which is different than ducking in with all-stars at the time. But yes, it's a full-time schedule.
Okay, that year, well, first off, Gravel and Donnie and Macedo, they're not on the road. Don't they fly home every race?
I know Donnie and Carson do.
I just saw Gravel at home.
Yeah.
Gravel flies home. I don't know why he's talking the road's a grind. He's not on the road. His team might be. But that year, 2020, Larson won 12 out of 27 outlaw races, 44%.
Yeah.
And he was on the road full time.
Right.
I'm saying I don't agree with what you guys are saying. With the All-Stars that year, he won 14 out of 27, which is 52%. And both those are career high percentages for any year. Mm-hmm. I think if Larson and Paul Silva ran full time with the Outlaws and all Kyle did was run sprint car racing, he'd win over half the races. So I think it's just a backhanded put down of what Kyle can do. And this is Gravel's way of justifying Kyle beating him.
I can't speak for why David said it. I have said that because I do think it's convenient that if things aren't going well, and as we know in 2021, everything went well for Kyle. He didn't have any lapses or flips and where he had misfortune, not a lot of it anyway. I'm saying that it's easier for somebody once they start struggling to duck out, not have to worry about points, and they can regroup and come back in. And my opinion's based on talking to guys who've done it. I've talked to Kreitz about it. I even mentioned it to Kyle. Now, Kyle Larson's also the outlier for everything. So now I don't know why David said it. I know for me, I think it's definitely easier when you don't have to be somewhere and deal with, okay, I'm going to, I can go race somewhere else. That's the pick and choose deal. That's the whole benefit of it. I don't have to tow out to Missouri to get rained on. I can stay at home and race. So,
but what pick and choose drivers are winning outlaw races on a consistent level with his theory?
Well, since High Limit came around, you have more national touring guys. So it's really kind of a moot point now. You have 29 national touring guys as opposed to 13. So all the guys who could do it are running a national series. That's Macri's the only one that I see.
I'm just saying, if you're saying that pick and just bouncing in and out, you'd be more successful. Why aren't people doing it?
Well, I think now it's all about the money, the tow money. I think we're going to see that. I'm going to tease this. Look, there's more pay for play rides, so I think we're looking at a different deal and what this sport is now. And I think it changes some of the dynamics, and maybe that won't be true moving forward. I just feel and again, Kyle's an outlier. He defies all logic. So,
and who else was gravel talking about that bounces in and win races if it wasn't directed at Kyle?
I mean, he could have been talking about locals, like when they come to PA, the Kreitz car. Could have been talking about Macri, even though Macri really hasn't had a ton of World of Outlaws success outside of, PA. He did finish 5th at the Nationals last year. He got better. Mm-hmm. Marks had some success outside of PA. So I think Marks might have been the other guy he was talking about. I can ask him because now I want to know.
Yeah. Because you seem to agree with him, and I don't see any statistical proof. That's all I'm saying. I don't know who he's making a general statement, and you agreed with the general statement, but I don't see any numbers backing up that statement. That's all I'm saying.
No, and look, yeah, you're right about that. I mean, for me, it's a general statement. What David meant, I don't know. I think Kyle Larson could win as many he can win as many races as. Regardless of what he's doing, it doesn't matter what Kyle Larson does. That's just a fact. And now with Paul Silva, Paul Silva has a wife, kid. Would he even want to do that right now? I don't know. So that's the difference. So unfortunately, I don't think we'll see it. I don't think we'll see it. At least not now.
But does this mean Brock Zerfoss will be better against the Outlaws since he's just bouncing in instead of being out there the whole year?
We will see, won't we, when they come to PA? What car's he running? He'll run the 8 car over the 3Z. He'll run the 3Z at Lincoln. He'll run the 8 car at Williams Grove. So we'll see. See, that's a good.
So according to Gravel, then Zerfoss's average finish this year with the Outlaws should be better than it was over his few years on the tour. So we have something to look at.
Yes, we do. And I think that's a good gauge.
Okay.
Good gauge.
Okay. I don't want to take any more of your time. Enjoy the show and all you do for the sprint car community.
I appreciate it very much. Dr. Midnight, everyone. Thank you.
All right. Go Capitals. Bye.
Go Capitals. I can't get behind that. I'm a Colorado guy right now since the Chicago Blackhawks are out of it and could be out of it for a very long time. So, Jeremy, are 2 national series the best model for the sport moving forward? In my opinion, there are many drivers that could develop in a regional series, the bottom halves of both national tours, in my opinion. Okay, this is 2 things can be true at once. Yes, they could develop better for a regional series, but you're not going to make as much money at a regional series. So would you advance up the ladder enough or earn enough money in a regional series to go to a national series? That's number one. Number two, with the addition of High Limit, what it has done, I believe, is up the interest level at certain events in the sport. Knoxville this week, let's say there's no High Limit. Would Knoxville have been a big deal on the Outlaws schedule? Sure. Anytime they roll into Knoxville, it is. This week was hyped way beyond that. And I think it's because these events where high limit guys pop in, and these high limit guys who don't run all the time with the Outlaws, I think it makes them bigger events. It's kind of like if you see something 25 times, it becomes stale. If you see it 5 times, you're going to want to go see that. So I think in this case, kind of the same thing. You're not seeing Brad Sweet, Rico, Brent Marks, Tyler Courtney, Aaron Reitzel. You're not seeing them run against the Outlaws all the time. So when they do, it becomes a bigger deal. So yeah, I think guys could develop on a regional level better, have some success, that whole confidence thing if we want to play that game. But I don't know if they put enough money in their wallet running those series like they would a national series and where they advance up the ladder. That's the one thing that I think kind of puts a hole in that theory. Like I told Dr. Midnight, 29 guys running national series. And there's a lot of money on the line now. And now we're going to see what the World of Outlaws do because High Limit upped the ante. So I think they're going to have to do something. So again, that's good for drivers. For racetracks, that might be a different story, but that's not part of your question. So what else do we got? Who's next? We have Will on line 2. Will, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself, sir?
It's been a busy week already. Entertaining week.
Yeah. Well, it seems like the elephant in the room is this Cale Thomas thing. To be honest with you, I've never heard of the fella. Maybe he was in Speed Sport magazine a couple times for a win at a local race. And I just, was wondering what credentials he had to get into this World of Outlaw high limit ride.
Well, I mean, he times decent, as we saw this week. He has a couple top 10s with the World of Outlaws. He does not have a win with the Outlaws. Had a really good year last year in Ohio in the Kaiser car. That was probably his best season in a 410. And look, I think the problem with Cale Thomas is if you look over his record, over his career, he doesn't race enough. He can't. I mean, he's in his 91 car, his own family deal, and he's bounced around a little bit. He was in the Trone car back here. But I don't know if he's raced enough to where we know what we really have. And last year, he ran more races than he did in a season ever. And he had good results. Now, it was regionally in Ohio. Would he have done that in Pennsylvania? He doesn't know the tracks here. He knows those tracks. I mean, I can't say whether he deserved it or not. I can say that that's his career. And 3 races, is that enough? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm kind of on the outside on that. People are really disagreeing with me on the other websites. No, I don't believe he deserved to be in that ride. And in my opinion, stands like this. When a race team is put together to go racing, it's about, at least in my opinion, as a fan, it's about winning races. It's about finishing up front.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that it's not like that. It's basically, if you got the money to go race, go race. If you finish 20th every week, you finish 20th every week. I as a fan, I like to go see fast race cars and drivers that want to win, that make moves on the track that you don't see at a local short track. You know, you see these moves that are so spectacular that makes the people in the stands stand up and start screaming. You know, and it just seems to me that there's a lot of teams out there, and Mr. Rodman disagreed with me on this, but you know, they should park the 1A. And I go, well, that's up to them. But if you're going to put somebody in there and you want to go run a tour or you want to win races, isn't it smarter to put a winning driver that's won races, that's maybe at the national level?
Well, I think it's twofold. Yes, obviously the sport should be about winning, but only so many guys are going to win. And so what do you do if you can't get a top, say, 25 guy? Do you park it? I mean, you're if you want to race, you're going to race. So now look, if you're going to ask me Zeb wise, yeah, I would have probably put Zeb in it because he had 2 years ago, he had double-digit wins with the All-Stars, had an Outlaws win at Port Royal. I'd probably go with Zeb, but Zeb's stock was down after last year a little bit. Now, again, I'm not running the team. Now, Cale, I don't dislike Cale as a driver because I've seen him time well, which is a big deal in these races now. Go look at Knoxville last week and look at the rundown of the finishers and where they timed and where they went out. Timing's huge. So to me, you know, but did he do enough to get the ride? I mean, I can't judge that. Like I said, I can say I would have taken Zeb probably. To me, Zeb Wise is the best guy on the market. Period.
Okay. I don't know. I'm not going to really comment on that because I disagree, sir.
Who is? Who is?
To be honest with you, I don't, you know, when you can a driver after 3 races and the season's already started, in my opinion, there are no top tier drivers available. So I guess you would put in the next best thing, but like I said, I don't understand the racing landscape. Is it about just showing up and selling T-shirts, or is it about winning races?
Well, I don't think either of those guys are selling a boatload of. They're not selling David Gravel shots, Rico numbers of merchandise. I think Bobby is in, and again, Bobby is in a position where I think money obviously is an issue. Now, I don't know what the deal was with Cale. I'm not going to say he brought money to the ride because I don't know. Some may say he is just to say he is, but I can tell you now it gets thinner. Now it gets thinner for Shark Racing with the 1A. But I don't know who you could have put in that car who's available now better than Zeb Wise.
Yeah, if and I'm not him and I'm not a driver, but if you already have a ride and you've already got a deal, and then you get a call to take a bigger ride.
Yeah.
I guess that could work out for you, but sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I just want to see, really good racing at the races on Friday nights, Saturday nights, whenever they're running.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see people that I know that are out there. Sure, you're going to start somewhere. Ask Catherine Legg. That whole deal with her in NASCAR. I don't really believe she should have been in the race to begin with because, one, she didn't qualify the car, so she took money and bought a ride in a car that was already qualified, but now she's in the way. She's running a car that she doesn't know, and so she's running tail end Charlie. And yes, definitely she was crashed out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but I'd like to go. I'd like to be entertained,
mm-hmm.
and I'd like to go to the races to see excellent racing. It's just I don't know. It's not entertaining to go to your local short track to see a bunch of racers that spinning out every other lap.
I will tell you this, and this is no disrespect to racing, but all forms of motorsports. It's not football. It's not hockey. It's not basketball, where you have to earn your way up through the lower ranks. And if you can play, you can play. If you can't, guess what? You're getting a pink slip and you're getting sent down. If you turn on the hockey playoffs tonight, they are the best guys in the world. We don't know that in any form of motorsports because there is nothing like that. That's always something we have to keep in mind. This is the platform we have for motorsports. It's not changing. There's no minor league system where they bring them up and they earn their way up because they scored 25 goals in 26 games in the minor leagues. We don't have that. So you could question that with almost anyone.
All right. As far as the Neto Sanders thing, it seems like those guys can't stay away from each other. And the funniest thing in the world is, to me, is like Brad Sweet did it the other night was, yeah, he should be mad. Yeah, I did wreck him. And then, it doesn't, I don't know. They don't help him put the car back together, I'm sure, right?
Well, look, I think the situations that we saw last week, and I will say this about the Brad deal, and I've talked to some racers and I talked to some people who were there, obviously, because I wasn't. There is a blind spot there. Now, and Brad was setting up to go into 3. Now, he wasn't there yet, but Knoxville, you set up for that. Probably when you hit halfway down the back chute, and it's not that big. It's not like as big as the Grove, so it just doesn't seem that way. But look, the Sanders Neto thing, he cleaned him out. There's no other way to look at that. He cleaned him out because there was nobody else there. He hit the bottom, slid up, and Sanders, there's this deal where you could always make a business decision. They call it a business decision. If you hit the brake and go back under him, there's no way Sanders had time to do that. If you watch that replay, there is no way. That was the worst one of the 3. Easily the worst one of the 3. No,
I don't even think Sanders saw him coming.
No, I mean, yeah, when he was in his cockpit.
Yeah.
And it was a bad place too. And this is one of the things that look, racing's changing. And guys, is it too safe? Because nobody has any fear. What's the consequence? There's no penalties. Nobody black flags anybody anymore. Nobody gets hurt, really. I mean, we have guys get hurt, but it doesn't seem in those incidences we don't have guys get hurt. So what's the consequence? If there's no it's like kids. If you have kids, if there's no consequence for touching the stove, you're going to do it. And that was the worst one of the 3. I mean, there's no, I will argue that with anyone. So,
well, I think that, and this is my opinion, everybody disagree or not, that the younger generation has less and less respect for their driving competitors. They seem to think that, like you said, they don't, they have a crash, they don't get hurt. Okay, I guess that was okay. I could do it again.
Well, and this is the last thing, and we got to get back to the chat, but, and other calls, but here's the thing with that. I don't like the word respect because I watched Steve Kinzer clean out Brad Doty at the Grove. What, didn't he have respect for him? No, I think the younger guys don't have to they don't have to have their rides. They don't purchase their own rides. Their family does, but I also think there's a different aspect to win. I just think there's different things to it. I don't like the word respect because I've seen guys clean guys out since 1980s. Now, was it as bad? I don't know. I mean, that's hard to say, but I just think it's a deal where they haven't had to struggle to get rides. They want to win. You can't, they all want to win. And then there's, I think too, they get probably bent out of shape quicker than they used to. Maybe, different generation. So I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's respect, but I just look at it a little different.
Thanks for taking my call.
No problem. Thank you. All right. How many available drivers can make a living on a pick and choose schedule unless you're coming from a well-funded team family? Well, I think the proof in that is guys going to high limit to get the extra money. I think I never imagined we would ever have 29 guys running on running national tours. I never imagined that 10 years ago, 5 years ago. So, yeah, I don't think there's many guys now. Anthony Macri, I think, is because you got to win. You're not getting tow money. Kreitz Don Kreitz Jr. has his oval track shop business. So yeah, Billy, I agree with you. There's not many guys who are making. I mean, look at your brother Danny. You guys have Racers Used Parts Warehouse. There's your plug. But you guys have that business. I think sometimes people think Danny doesn't work. No, Danny works. I still say you work harder though. So there you go, Billy. But hey, Jeremy, hope you had a good Easter weekend. In your opinion, do you think Hagerstown Speedway should get a national date again for sprint cars or stay with the 1-4-10 race during PA Speed Week? I used to go down there for the World of Outlaws shows, and they were phenomenal. And the Speed Week shows have been really good as of late. So, yeah, I'm all for a national tour date down at Hagerstown. Make it happen. It's a nice facility. The track's nice. It's configured. I like the configuration, so I'm all for it. Okay. John Kiley, what driver in their right mind would get in the 1A, and where's this Alan Crimes talk coming from? It's not going to be Alan Crimes, I can tell you that. I do think part of the problem now is going to be drivers will look at it and go, ooh, if I crash once, I'm out. They're going to have to deal with that. But I think, too, Shark Racing's never gone through anything like this. They've always had Logan and they had Jacob. I think we got to give them a little bit of a break on that. Bobby Allen's never hired drivers. He raced, had a Hall of Fame career, great driver, made it work. Look how far Logan's come. I mean, when they first went out on the road with Jacob and Logan, I mean, people laughed at it. They didn't think it would ever work. And now, 35, 40 wins later for Logan, Jacob has wins. He had a year where he had 4, 5 wins, whatever it was. So I think we need to cut him a little slack in that regard because Bobby Allen's never hired drivers. He's always done things on his own, and this is a little different. He's in kind of uncharted territory. But yes, I agree. Drivers probably look at that and go, ooh, I don't know. If I crash once, I'm done. So they'll have to deal with that. Okay, we have Jim from Buffalo on line 4. Jim, how you doing?
Good, Jeremy. Yeah, I just want to shoot through these and not drone on too much, but I enjoyed Captain or Dr. Midnight there. If he's
Always
Dr.
good with
Midnight,
Dr.
then
Midnight.
I'm Captain Chaos. I'm Captain Chaos then, I figured out who he is. But anyways, a well-known figure. But anyway, some of the things I wanted to touch on is number 2 is going with the 1A there. Thinking about what Bobby might be looking for or whatever. Sure, he wants to win and everything like that. But I think he looks also to, judging by the way he always treated his equipment, and he wants somebody that can roll the car back into the trailer at the end of the night. And he doesn't want to have some sponsor there watching and then come into the pits afterwards with a car that's all crumpled up and in pieces. He wants to show, hey, yeah, we did well. We didn't win, but you know what? We brought it back. We take care of we value your sponsorship. We're looking to take care of the equipment. So, I'm not even going to guess who he's putting in the car because who the hell knows? So,
I have a good
except for
idea.
you, I guess.
I have a good idea.
Okay. Local guy or national guy?
Not a local guy.
Not
a local guy.
So, okay. Number 3. Somebody said something about David Gravel and the drop-ins and everything like that. The only thing I can think about, yeah, he might be saying, pointing the finger at a certain person or multiple people. But the thing about it is, I think maybe he's trying to generalize is that he races for points,
Mm-hmm.
and he has to be consistent all year long. And he has to also use some good judgment when to go and when not to go and everything like that. And I think he's saying these guys that just kind of drop in, they got nothing to lose. They can put their foot on the floor and just go like hell. And, if they win it, great. If they spin it, oh, well, they're just there for one night. I mean, that's just my thought, because David's not really that type of person that seems to come out and just aggressively point at somebody individually. I think it was generalization. I mean, what do you think?
That's a very good point. I should have told Dr. Midnight that. I have heard that. I mean, let's face it. David Gravel had to probably a little bit just dial it back. And, when he was running for Brad's the best points racer in the country. And I'm sure David had to even dial it back a little bit at times to get points. And I think he's probably learned that over the years. And that is also a consideration. I mean, Kyle Larson is not ever dialing anything back. And if he raced for a title, would he? Because he can't have DNFs. Not when Gravel's running. I mean, because he just doesn't DNF a lot. So it's like old Donnie. Donnie went DNF all year. Darren Pittman didn't DNF all year when he won it in 2013. So yes, that is a very, very good point. I think that's a piece of it.
Yeah. The next thing is, I didn't call him this name, but yeah, you touched on the Ginger Kitty. I was infuriated with him on Saturday night because I'll tell you why. When you give somebody the right rear, you may know they're there and you may not know they're there. Sometimes you can hear them, sometimes you can't. Depends on if you wear mufflers or not. But when there's somebody on the left-hand side of your car, you can damn well know that they're there. You can see them. And I was just not real happy with that. And, I think the crowd gave it to him on Saturday night. And they should, because, there's no excuse to run into somebody when they're on the left-hand side of you, unless they lose it.
Okay, so now I got a question for you. And what's coming. If it wouldn't have been Brad Sweet, would you have been up in arms as much? Because you're not a Brad Sweet guy.
I would have been.
Come on now. That bet?
Yeah.
It happens 20 times a night. That same move happens 20 times a night.
Not to that extent. But you know what? It's just like when Macedo took off Paul McMahon at Nationals a few years ago. I was infuriated with that. That was just a stupid bonsai move. Just ran into him. I mean, I understand and I get it because I raced back in the 80s. It's not as easy as they make it look. Right. 100%. I'll give them that. Because you can control your own car, but you can't control what other people do. And I see that in my profession every day. So, maybe I wouldn't be as upset as I am, but hey, you know what? I don't like, I know how much work the crews and the teams and the guys put into their car. Because one of my buddies, he races 360 weekly at Knoxville, and they're in the garage every day, just like every other local driver across the country. And I don't like to see people get their equipment trashed, be it, Tasker or be it even Brad. I don't want to see him crash a car.
Sure.
You
just want him to blow a motor.
Have the bet.
You want him to blow a motor.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like playing hockey. You don't want to take a guy's knee out. You just knock him out. So he's, he at the end of the game, he can play the next game.
Slight concussion. Concussion.
Yeah. I've had my share. Maybe that's my issue. But anyways, And then let's see. I was looking at some things here. You and I went back and forth about the A team versus the B team, and you mentioned a few things. Yeah, the A team got their ass kicked at Knoxville, but you know what? It was just the opposite last year at Eldora in the Kings Royal. So, we can all have examples of different situations and everything like that, and go from there.
Yes.
It's just who we like. I mean, it's just like politics. That's what makes sprint car racing great.
The
you
difference.
love people, you hate people. So
The difference.
And to wrap it all up.
No, wait.
The
difference is I went through 24 races last year, and they have pretty close to the same rosters, and it all shakes out to be pretty close.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of some of the guys on the HL roster. I love, Peck and everything like that. I just, wish he'd get out of the Ford motor. I mean, I kind of look at the 26 like the old Casey Loonan number 10. It's kind of, they used to call that the penalty box until Kenny Woodruff and Dave Blaney got there and they figured it out and made it go fast. I don't know, took the 26 now. It's kind of like the penalty box. It's not because they don't try. It's just, they got to figure something out. But anyways, and then the last thing, and I want to wrap it up. I don't want to drone on, but I gotta give a shout out to the Dietrich brothers. Danny, love the guy. The guy gets it. You can love him, or hate him, or whatever, but he stopped, helped the guy out of the car.
Yep.
He did the right thing. He cares. Yeah, he says what he feels, and he feels what he says. And sometimes, people get upset. But hey, it happens sometimes. But the guy stands by it. And also, too, I got to give a shout out to Mr. YouTube there, Billy, with his fine second place finish there at the port.
Look good.
Sometimes you just got to finish the race to get have success. So
looked racy.
Yeah, and Dr. Midnight was wrong. The Stanley Cup's coming from Manitoba this year.
Oh, here we go. Enjoy the playoffs. No, it's not going to Winnipeg. Stop it. No. But the playoffs have been great. Enjoy them.
Oh yeah, you too, and go Amherst. We'll probably see the Bears down the line. So you have a great week. We'll talk to you next week.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Okay. What do we got next? Can we fire away clues and you respond yes or no for the next driver of the 1A? Sounds like a fun game. You can. I mean, you can fire away. I'll answer what I can. I don't even know if they'll announce it. I think they're just going to show up at a track. So, I mean, go ahead. But I don't know it for sure, so I probably won't give it away. We got Nick on line 5. Nick, how you doing?
Good. I want to talk about the Knock King West Series this weekend.
Okay.
You think that point championship is wide open in California?
Yeah, because of the Calistoga race, I don't know who's going to run the whole series. And unless they move that or change it or come to some kind of agreement on it, yeah, I think it's wide open. I couldn't even tell you even in looking at the points now, I think it's a moot point because we don't know who's going to go north. So, yeah, I think it's up for grabs.
But then the other question is, the Neto and Sander deal I must said on Saturday night. You think that what you bet and point on that deal?
I think Neto cleaned him out. I don't look. He went in there, skidded across the track. Sanders did not. There's times when you can hit the brakes and go under him. There is no way he had the time to do that at that part of the track. Yes, I think he cleaned him out.
Okay. And then you think who you think Zeb you think Zeb Y will be the next driver of the 1A?
No, I do not. I do not think it'll be Zeb Wise. Zeb Wise is the best choice, but he will not be the new driver of the 1A. Probably not.
And you think that High Women Who you picking for championship to win high limit?
Oh, Brad Sweet. He's
You picking Brad?
Yeah, Brad will win the high limit title. David Gravel will win the Outlaws title. You can mark that down
Okay.
already.
Yeah. No, I totally will agree with you on Brad Sweet win the high limit title.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nick. Appreciate the call. Okay, let's keep rolling along. Jeremy, what was your take away from Knoxville on Saturday? Look, April is not August. So I don't put much stock in how the track was, or, people gained this unbelievable knowledge that they could use for the Nationals. I don't buy that. It was cold. So, that's first and foremost. But, look, I took this way. Rico can win anytime. He wasn't great through the early part of the season, but he can win anytime. Good driver. Ricky Warner turning the wrenches. Kyle Larson, still Kyle Larson. Logan Schuchart, right? He continues to be consistent. I think we're seeing 2020 Logan Schuchart, which I've been waiting for a while now. I think Kyle Pruitt's done a great job. Aaron Reitzel is going to be a contender every time he goes to the track. I think he's a guy to watch. And I think Tyler Courtney's still underrated, which I don't get. It was a stout field. There's some guys who still have work to do. The 15 still has work to do. Jumps off the page. And it also, I think, emphasized how important qualifying is and the pill draw. I don't think it is for the second flight because it levels out. More guys who timed later in the second flight did better than guys who timed late in the first flight. That first flight, if you're not in the first half of it, depending on the night, you got problems. And you had problems at Knoxville. So I think this sport definitely pill draw matters, which is just luck. So we got to accept that. That's just sprint car racing today. So those are my takeaways from Knoxville. Jeremy, is it just me, or would a partnership between the 1A and Bill Baylog make sense? Baylog is a good driver and could use the money. I like what Bill Baylog's doing. I don't know if he'd partner with anybody anyway. Good partnership. I'm going to say no, because I think Bobby does things a certain way, and I think Bill does things a certain way, and two guys who do things a certain way, I don't know if they can mix. So I don't like that. I just think it's a different animal. I think there are two guys who do well on their own. All right, Jeremy, have you heard about the race at Bridgeport is doing third place finisher is the winner, 10 grand to finish third? What kind of shit show will that be? I have not heard about that. I will definitely be making a call. I'm sorry I missed that. You got me on that one. I have not heard about that. So, yeah, if it is that way, I don't understand it. Last I checked, it's all about winning, but I guess I'm wrong. Peck has been very quiet since this past weekend. Is something in the works with the 1A? No. They had a trailer issue, and I don't know what happened Saturday. They said things got complicated. I think things could be complicated with that team right now. They're still using the Fords. I think motors could be an issue in the sense of having them. Let's face it, the 15 mentioned that it was tough getting parts and stuff. So I think they could be going through the same thing. But as for Peck, no, I think he's committed to that deal. All right. What else do we got? What's happening with Cisney and the 71 car? Nothing this weekend. Cisney will be in the Jonathan Jones car at Port Royal Speedway on Saturday. I talked to him earlier tonight, actually a few minutes before the show. So you can cross him off the 1A list, because that's probably going to be a question later. And that comes into play with who I think is going to be in the car. So Dylan Cisney, Jonathan Jones machine this weekend, Port Royal. Will not be in the 71 car. All right. What else do we got? Did you see Sosky talking about moving the front nose wing forward 3 inches? He said it would negate dirty air. I did see that. And actually, that got me thinking about some other things. And it could be a 90 at 9 in the near future. I'm still trying to get some information on it. A lot of times, if I sit on stuff, it's because I want to have the whole story or have all the information. I don't like just throwing stuff up and seeing if it sticks. And look, I'm never going to question Danny Lasowski on stuff like that. If anybody knows about the front wing being forward more, I'm going to say it's him. You take what you want from that. But also look at tires. You know, I talked to somebody who was on the road with the Outlaws for 9 years, and they had different choices. And I talked about this a couple weeks ago. I think we should have different choices, not different manufacturers, different compounds. And you have comers and goers in the feature because some guys are going to pick harder where it comes on late. Some are going to pick softer to go like crazy early. So I think Danny might be onto something. I know this. I would listen to a guy like Danny Lasowski when it comes to that and at least try it for a test session. All right. What else do we got? Ed, Jeremy, do you have a patron subscription so we can support what you're doing? I appreciate that a lot. I really do. I will never charge anybody on YouTube to listen to me. I just don't like it. It just doesn't feel right to me. So I do have SprintCarUnlimited.com. We post something almost every day. You know, a story. It's not the same as the YouTube stuff. I like to try and keep it different as much as possible. Usually the stuff on the website is breaking news. Now, if I can't get it quick enough and I have a 90 at 9 coming, I'll stick it on there. But most of the stuff on the website is different. It's $35 a year. And I have roughly 450, 500 posts a year. Coverage of racing, columns, our weekly podcast with Ryan Hand. I just don't feel right about charging people on YouTube. I just don't. So what do we got next? Sweet wiped out McFadden twice last year. Now this, starting to get a reputation. I guess. I mean, I can't speak for people, but him running high limit and him owning that series probably has hurt him in the court of public opinion as well. I think there's an angst toward him that, again, if that would have been somebody else, there would have been some chirping, but it wouldn't have been as bad as if, that it was Brad. So I think that's a fair assessment. All right. Who wins this weekend at Fremont? Cap Henry. I think Cap Henry is the favorite to me. Maybe it's somebody else rolls in there, but I think Cap Henry. All right. Is the 1A better equipment than it looks? I saw it up close once and it looks a wee bit tattered. I'm not going to go that far. I don't think Bobby's putting junk on the track. I don't buy that. I think it just doesn't. I don't think they're worried about appearance. I think they worry about it running well. I just don't think appearance matters. And that's happened other times at other points in racing. So no, I don't agree with that. I think the car can run. All right. You're taking a cap over the you're taking Cap over the reigning track champion. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Taking Cap Henry. Jeremy, Friday, May 16th. Ray Tilley Classic Sealands Grove or Yellow Breeches 500 at Williams Grove. For me or for drivers? I'll probably go to Sealands Grove that night for me, and I'll try and get somebody to do Williams Grove. I need a writer. I need a content provider. My producer, Eric, does a great job, and I know him and I have talked, but the more the merrier. I'm looking to up the content even more on the website. So I will probably be at the Ray Tilley Classic, though. Who's going to win the Keith Kaufman Classic this weekend? Oh, boy, you guys are... Kreitzcar? Ryan Smith? I mean, now, Macri will be here. He'll be up there. Chase Dietz will be back. I'm not going to take Chase. Macri's hot right now. 69K dropped out at Lincoln. They had a parts issue. So I'm going to say Anthony Macri. Why would I pick against Anthony at this point? I think they're righting the ship, so to speak. It's going to be a time trial show. Makes sense. What is one rule that would change? What is one rule that would change? Drastically change sprint car racing. I don't know if there's one that would change the winners. The good teams will always find a way to win. The good drivers will always find a way to win. They all make adjustments better than the other guys. That's why they're the best team. So I don't think it changes. I'll go back to what I said earlier. I would like to see more tire compounds so there's choice. They can be all Hoosiers. I don't care, because you're not getting tire manufacturers in there. McCreary can't do it, and Goodyear has no desire to do it. So I'm going to say just compounds. I want more compounds. So that's where I'm at with it. What's your take on Wagner and Whitall? You know, I had a conversation today. First off, when I watched it the first time, admittedly, I thought, Wagner was in the wrong. I think it's 65-35. And I was talking to two guys today, and I watched it a second time and a third time and a fourth time. Now, you don't have that luxury in the moment. So I'm sympathetic to Whitall and Logan Wagner in that regard. Do I think it was overly aggressive? Yeah, that's the 65. Whitall was kind of running that line, and look, you knew he was going there again. And I just thought it was just overly aggressive, but 65-35 is where I come out on it. All right. Your thoughts on Brady Bacon this weekend at the Bull Rings? It's going to be tough. He's good at Hopstad, and I assume he'll be good at Jacksonville. Brady Bacon, I think, is an underrated wing driver. He made the Knoxville Nationals A-Main last year. He's not a big track guy in a wing car. So I think he's going to do well. I think he'll be in the hunt, especially at Hopstad. He's already won a couple there. So I think Brady's good. I like Brady a lot, and I think it's a good addition for winged racing if he's here more. Ford Motor Company's effort to support a 410 platform is effing embarrassing. Wow. TSR held on so long because Tony has as much or more than Ford invested in. Yeah, it hasn't worked out, but let's keep in mind, I'm not saying you're wrong, but they had to start from a different place than, say, Toyota. They were manufacturing all the parts. It was Ford basically out of their catalog. So I think they had some things to overcome that other companies didn't, aka Toyota. Now, that's nothing wrong with Toyota. I'm just saying let's be fair to what they were trying to do. Now, it hasn't worked out. And do I think they made the right changes along the lines here? When things weren't good? Probably not. Did they get people involved who maybe didn't know enough about 410 sprint car racing? Probably. It's a big company. So I would say that that's true. But I think they had a harder time getting started and putting something together than the other manufacturers. So I think, again, two things can be true at once. Does Macri win 20 this year? It's a good question. He's 5 now. He's going to probably go to Eldora in 2 weeks. How much does he go on the road? I'm going to say 18. 20's hard. I don't think Gravel gets to 20 because these fields are going to just get tougher. Macri goes on the road a little bit in June, July, August. I think that, he did a couple years ago, though, 23. I'm going to say 18. That's my number. All right. Why do you think there shouldn't be more than one tire manufacturer and just different compounds? Teams buy the tires, they should run what they want. It's not that I don't think there should be. The reality is it isn't going to happen. McCreary can't do it, and Goodyear has no desire to do it. So it's not what I want. It's what is feasible or what is going to happen. You're not going to see, and who's to say Hoosier then doesn't say, you know what, we're done then. You can't have that. McCreary can't put out enough tires. So, and as I said, Goodyear had a sour taste in their mouth before. They're not going to get back in it. They have no desire to do it from the people I talk to who are in touch with guys at Hoosier. So it's not that I don't want it. It's that it's not going to happen. And I think different compounds is a compromise. And I think it would help. I also think dish wings would help. So there's my little plug for that as well. All right. Could a combined Lucas Oil high limit show work at Port Royal? This is 410 sprint car country. Those Lucas Oil shows at Port, some were good, some not so much. That's a big nut to cover. That is a big nut. Ask Golden Isles. And guess who wasn't back at Golden Isles this year? Could it work? Yes. I think you need perfect weather. I think you need a multi-day show. And that's the only way I think that goes well. All right. Look at the old days for the 1A. Scruffy never worried about appearance. Exactly. It never mattered to him. So I don't think it matters now. And look, Logan Schuchart's one of the best in the country right now. So you think Bobby doesn't have fingers in that a little bit? At least a little bit? Yeah, I think Bobby's fine. All right. Did you get to see video or photos of new part of the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame? Oh, the Albach Tower. I did not see that yet. I did not see it. I'll look for it though. There's somebody I can call out there and I'll see if I can get some photos sent to me. Jeremy, what do the Hawks have to do to stop pissing away Bedard's career? I want Dale Talon back. It's bad. My daughter just crushes me on it all the time. Just wait till the San Jose Sharks pass them because that's going to happen next year. San Jose Sharks, worst record this year. Watch them in the future. If they get goaltending and if they get defense, they're going to be good. And their farm team, the Barracuda, they have a goalie who's not bad at all. So it's going to be interesting. The Blackhawks, I'll stick with them, but it's not looking good. At least they got a good draft choice. All right. Who does your daughter want to win the Stanley Cup? The Capitals. She's full on Hershey Bears, Capitals. If San Jose was in it, she'd want them to win. She likes their logo. She likes Celebrini, who's really good. The young guys. I think if she had to pick a second team, probably, she wants Dallas to beat the Avalanche. So we clash over that as well. Although I won money, I shouldn't say this. I won money on Dallas last night. I took the money line, so I scored a nice payday on the money line for Dallas last night, even though I wanted the Avalanche. So money talks more than loyalty as far as teams you like. And it wasn't the Blackhawks. But it's all Capitals. Do you think Lincoln will get a full field of 410s this Saturday? I'm concerned that they got 29 last week for 10,000. And they've been getting 28 to 30 every week. And this is a problem because, and Greg Hodnett, and God rest his soul, one of the smartest guys I've ever talked to in the Pitt area, we talked about that a lot. If you don't support higher paying shows, why have them? Why put up $5,000 more and you're not getting more cars? So I'm concerned moving forward when Port Royal has a big paying race. Now, sorry guys, 50-50 chance of rain day and night this Saturday. So I don't, Pennsylvania in April, anything could happen. But yeah, I'm concerned about Lincoln's car count at some point here. Could be dicey. Hoosier makes different compounds for modifieds and late models. Yes, they do. And why not Sprint Car? Choice of two compounds would add a nice twist. Go Jets, go. You got to stop with Winnipeg, buddy. Got to stop. Although their goaltender's pretty good, but the Blues scored 3 on them last night. How about 3? They used to have 3. They had a hard, a soft, and a mid. Now, I guess people didn't use the mid very much. Why not 3? And you're exactly right about the modifieds and the late models. There's no reason, high limit, and it's got to start at the top. It can't start, I would say it needs to start Outlaws high limit, Brad, if you're listening, and then it needs to go to Central PA. Whether anybody likes it or not, Central PA has the most power from a region standpoint in sprint car racing. Knoxville also has a big say. So, to me, yes, slam dunk, do it. But it has to start. Somebody has to get the conversation rolling. And I know that's something I'm working on as well. And we'll be calling Hoosier about it at some point. Your deep dives are awesome. Thank you very much. Would you ever consider a deep dive with Bruce Ellis, the former Williams Grove announcer? I felt he left unceremoniously after having a long career at the Grove. He is on my list. I like Bruce a lot. I know some people didn't like his style. I thought he is a true historian. I always enjoyed talking to Bruce and always felt I learned something talking to Bruce. So yes, he's definitely on my list. What's your thoughts on Justin Sanders to the 1A? No. Everybody wants Justin Sanders to go race on the road. I mean, the guy has his fingers in multiple businesses, things he does. He's making money. I just don't think it's and it would have to be the right situation. And I don't think he'd do it full time. He got married. I just don't think it's what he wants to do. I just don't think it's what he wants to do. I mean, maybe if the right team came along, $100,000 in his bank account to start the season, yeah, I guess maybe do it then. But it's definitely a situational thing. I know it's early, but who would you pick to win the 3 Crown Jewel races and Huset's? Scott, I just like that you acknowledge there's only 3 Crown Jewels. And there's big races that mean a lot, which is great. 3 Crown Jewels. So I'm going to say Huset's. I'm going to say Buddy Kofoid again. I think he's just that good up there. Eldor's a crapshoot. Larson's going to win. I don't know what his status will be for the Kings Royal. I'm not sure what his schedule will be. I'm going to take David Gravel for the Knoxville Nationals this year. Although last week wasn't good, I'm going to take Kings Royal. Give me Logan Schuchart for the Kings Royal. So I'll take Schuchart, Gravel, and then for the Williams Grove National Open, I'm going to go again with Gravel. It's just really good there. Carson Macedo, boys, he come a long way at Williams Grove. He's 2 National Opens. So, but that's who I got. Who's next? I tuned in late. Any word on the next 1A driver? I have a good idea who it is. Nothing's been formally announced. It will stun a lot of people, and some people will be scratching their heads because they won't know who it is. They won't recognize the name. So I'll leave it go at that. We'll see if it goes that direction. Was Sandy Klein one of your best interviews ever? One of my best interviews ever. It was a good interview. That's hard. And I assume you mean racing, because I've done a lot of interviews outside of racing. The Kreitz stuff was good. The Steve Beitler stuff this year was really good. I think I had a lot of good ones last year. That's tough. I'd have to think about that. You know what, Randy? Next week, ask me that. I'll think about that this week and think what I feel my best interviews were. That's tough. There's been a lot of them. That's why. Is Williams Grove back pit opening sketchy? There's only been one guy to hit the water barrel or clip the water barrels. Is it sketchy? Well, if it wasn't sketchy, they wouldn't have water barrels there. I think one of the things with Williams Grove, and I don't know if they fixed it, is the backstretch wall kind of goes like this. And there's some sharp edges. Now, they might have fixed that. I don't know. I saw pictures of it a year or two ago, and it was like that. That's a problem. Any opening at this point is a problem. I don't know. I am not a parks and recreation guy who knows if water barrels are the savior of if somebody goes in there. I can't answer that. That's a good question for Barry Jackson. But Barry Jackson signed off on that, so I would assume because Barry Jackson, I believe, went to school for that. So or did it at one point. So yeah, I mean, any opening sketchy to me. Anything can happen. And I don't think people who think they can predict what these cars are going to do, I just roll my eyes, because I've seen stuff since 1984 that I never thought I would see. And there's stuff in the last few years I thought I was done seeing. I never thought I would see that stuff. So yeah, you can't predict it. Jeremy, we're due for a state of the sprint car union from the national treasure known as Tyler Swank. I talked to Tyler Swank today. Great guy. I agree. Anytime Tyler wants to come on, I'll have him on. So yes, agreed. Love the Steve Beitler interview, the best so far. See, that's what I mean. It's tough. The guest matters. They got to be willing to open up. Answer whatever question. I don't really pull punches at all. If I want to know something, I'm going to ask. Now, I might ask it in a respectful way. I know sometimes that's not always viewed well, but I'm not going to punch somebody in the face on an interview. I'll just ask them at least in a respectful way. So, no, Steve Beitler was great. If I'm any track in the country, I'm calling him and getting his feedback on my track. I think he did a wonderful job at Skagit. I think he's really good. All right. Thoughts on the NFL draft in a few days. I love the NFL draft. Big fan of the NFL draft. Always have been. I hate missing the NFL draft. My daughter has her school play at 7:00. I asked, she was down today because she watched hockey with me last night. And I said to her, how long's your play last? She said about an hour and 15 minutes. Why? And I said, oh, no reason. Just was curious. And it's because of the NFL draft. But I have to go support her. That's way more important. But I will definitely, if I can talk, definitely check my phone to see what's going on. I can't wait for the NFL draft. It's one of my favorite events of the year. It's going to be interesting to see where these quarterbacks go. It'll be real interesting. All right. How about a hint on the new 1A driver before you're done tonight? It's going to be a guy you would have never thought of. It's going to be somebody who some people in the 410 community won't know. And it's not a Pennsylvania guy. Those are three hits. And he's not old. He's young. I believe it might be a teenager. If not, he's close to a teenager. So there's your hint. And he was in another car this year. I saw you on the Travis Pastrana video in the background talking to Aaron when they were in Las Vegas. So how was the experience being a part of all that? It was kind of neat. I know some people poo-pooed it. Look, sprint car racing is very niche. Anything we, as a sport, can do to get more eyes on it, I don't know how that's bad. I never understood people going, oh, they're selling out. It's the old Metallica line, selling out. And Lars, the drummer, says, yeah, every night. So, look, this sport needs more eyes. Now it also needs to help itself, which is a struggle, it seems like. And I've talked about that many times, but I liked it. I thought it was good. Travis was great to talk to. He was very gracious, gave an interview. He wouldn't have to do that. But it was really good. I enjoyed it. It was interesting to see. Got around there decent. I didn't know what to expect. So, yeah, no, it was good. It was good. All right. Is there anybody else? That's all we got tonight for questions. Again, SprintCarUnlimited.com. We have daily check it out. We have daily content exclusive to subscribers. We're shooting a podcast tomorrow. We have the YouTube channel. We have the 90 at 9. We have the deep dive on Thursday. And we'll be back next Tuesday with another show. Thank you to all the callers for tuning in. And look forward to next week.